Good afternoon, everybody. It's 12:30 in Sydney and Melbourne. Lots of other different time zones, which means it must be P2P Live, where we talk about the jobs and employment market throughout Australia and New Zealand. Hi there, my name's Mark Smith, and I'm Group Managing Director of People to People in Australia and Frog Recruitment in New Zealand. We have a jam-packed broadcast today. We're focusing primarily on New South Wales. But before I get into the agenda and what we're going to be talking about, I've got to apologise for my tips last week in the Melbourne Cup. I think I spoke at length about Master of Wine, and I probably should stick to drinking wine and not not trying to make a very loose tip, I suppose. He came in 17th in the Cup, but it was still just fabulous to even see a big crowd at the Cup. Well, not as big as it normally is, of course, but at least there was a crowd there and everybody was enjoying it across the country, including us here at People to People. So let's get into today's, actually, before I move on, it's also Diwali at the moment. And I know that it's the Festival of Light, for those who don't know, the Hindu Festival of Light, where good triumphs over evil and light over dark. That's the whole concept around it. And there's a big community within Sydney. And because we have a New South Wales focus, I thought I'd mention it today, particularly also for Harris Park, which is near our Parramatta office. So if you're into Indian street food, I did hear that there's a particularly good Mumbai street food destination in Harris Park. You should go check it out. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that there's a competition in Blacktown. Blacktown Council is actually running a competition for the best lights for Diwali. And I'll put Jacob in, who's the man behind the scenes here for P2P Live. There he is. He's just popped up the connection or the link to that particular competition. So maybe if you are a Western Sydney resident, jump on there and see if somebody locally is part of that particular competition there as well. Anyway, so let's jump into it. We've got a jam-packed agenda. So we'll go through our regular numbers section where we'll talk about ads specifically for New South Wales. We'll then go through unemployment for the different regions of Sydney. There is quite a difference throughout Sydney, so we'll explore that today. Then we'll be crossing to Catherine Kennedy, the Managing Director of New South Wales. She's got a senior opportunity to talk to us about. She'll also update us on the market for jobs in Sydney. Then we'll be chatting to Liam Graffiti, he's a specialist in temporary accounting opportunities, and he's got two of those that he wants to talk to us about today as well. We've got a new section today as well, which we're calling Fill Job Friday, where we have 3 vacancies that need to be filled Monday. We have 3 temp jobs where we need to get people started next week, so we'll be sharing those with you. And finally, we'll share our Twitter poll results from last week, where should you actually get paid more if you're working remotely? Sorry, paid less if you're working remotely than if you're in the office, like some of the large private equity and banking institutions in Manhattan have done. Let's see what the Australian community thinks. So stay tuned for that. Let's get started then. Let's get into our regular numbers section. So this week we're going to actually cover off a couple of things, but I wanted to focus particularly on New South Wales. And once again, this is a post on Twitter from Callum Pickering from Indeed. So thanks to Callum for this particular graph. And what it shows is that the job postings on Indeed, with the February 2020 as the baseline, and by state. So I particularly wanted to show this because it's up to the 29th of October, so from last week, that New South Wales is, in terms of the job ads on Indeed, are up 82% on February 2020 levels. And that's just remarkable. You can see the decline for the most recent lockdown, but now it is just at levels not seen for a very long time. Victoria up 85% and the whole country up 68%. So that number says that it is a tight market in New South Wales. Let's have a look at the unemployment details. And what I've decided to do this time, so if we can go to the next slide, which will concentrate on Sydney's east, well, I thought I'd sort of break it down, and this is purely from the Australian Bureau of Statistics. This is where these numbers come from, and it is a month old. So what we're going to see is unemployment data, which seems higher than you would expect, given that the last unemployment rate was about 4.6%, I think it was. But it was higher because of the lockdowns in Sydney. But I wanted to demonstrate to you the differences between the different regions within the Sydney market. So Sydney Eastern Metro, so People to People have an office in Sydney here, and the unemployment rate is 5.4%. And that's slightly higher than the national average, but you can imagine because of the lockdowns, that's the reason why. Let's compare that then to Sydney's Greater West. And so this is Parramatta, Blacktown, Diwali. That's where a lot of that's happening. Harris Park. We've got an office in Sydney's Greater West in Parramatta. And the unemployment rate in Parramatta is 6.5%. Sorry, Greater West is 6.5%. So it's slightly higher. Let's now go down south. So that's the southwest portion of Sydney. So, and you can see that the unemployment rate is much higher down there. So if you're comparing 5.4 in Sydney CBD and East, 7.5% in Sydney's southwest. So we're talking about Liverpool, Campbelltown, along the Hume Highway there, and then Sydney's north. So this is not North Shore, Northern Beaches, and out to the west. So you can Walkham Hills and those type of areas, and you can see that the unemployment rate there is 4.7%. So that's the lowest unemployment in Sydney. So Sydney, if you're an organisation in Sydney's north and you're looking to hire somebody who lives locally, you have a harder, it's harder for you to find talent than it is if you were, say, down in Campbelltown and you were looking for somebody as well. Okay, so very Sydney-centric with our numbers today, but I thought it was appropriate because we're spending a bit of time just talking about New South Wales. So what we'll do now is we'll have a quick chat to Catherine Kennedy, the Managing Director of New South Wales. But to get us there, we've got an opportunity for a HR coordinator that I think Hannah from our Sydney office is recruiting right now. So if you want to play that for us, Hannah.
Hi everyone, Katarina and Hannah here from our legal support team at People to People in our Sydney office.
We are currently working on a fantastic opportunity for a human resources coordinator to join a top-tier global law firm in a large HR team that offer amazing career progression opportunities. The firm offer a wide range of competitive employee benefits, including various health and wellbeing initiatives, social events and sporting teams.
Your responsibilities in this role will include preparing employment contracts, liaising with payroll, preparing correspondence and onboarding of new staff, and further ad hoc responsibilities.
The successful candidate must have demonstrated prior experience within human resource support, strong time management, attention to detail and organisation skills, and the ability to work within a fast-paced environment.
This opportunity is paying a competitive salary package. If this role sounds of interest to you, please contact via the phone or email or apply using the link below. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Kath.
Hello.
Nice to see you again. Now, you're coming to us live from Western Sydney, aren't you? From the Greater West?
Well, talk about Greater West. I'm even further Greater West than Sydney. I'm over the Nepean River in the lower Blue Mountains, but still included in that Greater West. Certainly for lockdown, we were still included in the Greater West. So, yes, I am at home, obviously. My dog, who hasn't barked all day, was just barking a moment ago. So
yeah, of course. It's sod's law, isn't it?
That's her shtick.
So before we get into the opportunity that we're talking about, how would you describe the market in New South Wales? And were there any surprises in the numbers that you saw there?
No, as I was looking at that, I thought, look, I'm not surprised by the tightness of the market. So that's definitely been the experience of our consultants as we're coming out of lockdown, and that, I guess the impact of the pandemic seems to be lessening a little bit. So yeah, there's a lot of hiring activity happening, particularly. So if I think about the two locations that we have, as you said, our office in Parramatta and our office in the city. Our Western Sydney office has been busy across a range of verticals, but particularly busy in supply chain, anything logistics related. And I think that's probably a reflection of where a lot of those markets tend to sit most of their employees. So that's definitely been very busy. Within Sydney, once again, busy across all areas really, but particularly sales and customer service, and any of that sort of direct customer contact, which I think is an indication of the market returning, and a lot of businesses that had been taking a little bit of a wait and see type approach, and just a little bit cautious about hiring, now seeing now's the time to seize opportunities and to make sure that they're really proactive with customers. So we've seen, and we've taken bulk orders. I think we took 10 sales roles with the client yesterday or the day before, 10 or 15 customer service roles with another business the day before that. So definitely lots of opportunity.
It is amazing. Now, we've just had a comment from Ali on Facebook that says, do you think that companies are still going to look at flexibility or working from home in the new year?
That is going to be the $1 million question. And I think so. It's very, very candidate tight at the moment. That shortage is, I think, only going to continue. So companies that are able to offer that kind of flexibility ongoing are definitely going to have a competitive edge. So when I think about what some of the real drivers for our candidates are, and salary is always an aspect, obviously, but there she goes. But flexibility, and flexibility is really important to people now. I think kind of this period of the last couple of years is, people have adjusted their lifestyles and the way that they live. So that flexibility piece definitely, I think, if organisations don't look at it next year, then they will be at a disadvantage.
Yeah, I think it. If you're in the war for talent, it's one of the arrows you have in your quiver to secure that talent, I think. So you have an opportunity, senior opportunity.
Yeah, I do. So as I said, because the market is definitely, there's more momentum building, and what I've seen is certainly more activity in the senior space, which had been pretty quiet for a while, and major big strategic decisions weren't necessarily being made. That's definitely shifting. So there's a position, it's not even yet advertised, so I can't link to the advertisement because it's so fresh. I will have that done by this afternoon, but we've just taken a brief for a senior sales leadership position. So it's working within the science and technology sector. So this business does a range of things within that sector, and it's a regional manager position specifically around corporate accounts. So what we're looking for in this role is somebody who is a sales leader. So you definitely have a team that you will be leading, but also is able to really manage and lead those C-suite negotiations with these really key corporate accounts. So it's both a blend of sales leadership, but also really being that key relationship manager with some of these corporate accounts. We're looking for experience. There's a couple of sectors that could come from, but they all really need to be science related. So pharmaceutical, diagnostics, any of the sort of technology, scientific type backgrounds would work. If candidates had some exposure or experience specifically in animal health or animal technology, that would be particularly appealing. So, just very new to the market as of literally yesterday. So that's a role very keen to talk to candidates about.
Great. All right. And if somebody wants to, because we don't have the link, what's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you then?
Probably just my details, which hopefully might fly by under. There we go. So yeah, you can connect with me directly. It will be advertised on our website by the end of the day. I've just recorded a video which will be shared on our social channels shortly as well. But yeah, if you wanted to just give me a call or drop me an email as a first instance, it's looking at about 200 as a base salary and incentives in addition to that. So hopefully that gives a bit of an indication about sort of the level in the market.
It sounds like a fantastic opportunity. I can see Peter on LinkedIn. And by the way, if you pop comments in on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, we can see them live. And I can see that Peter, who is one of our colleagues actually from our Parramatta office, says you've made a really good point on supply chain, especially in the forklift roles, where it's a very candidate short market.
Yes,
so
when I'm in our Parramatta office, I sit next to Peter, and I'm not surprised by his comment. I know that he's finding it doing a great job, by the way, but finding it very hard to find, to find the talent to match the demand. There's just such demand at the moment.
Yeah, great. All right. Well, thanks for joining us again, Kath. It's always good to speak with you, P2P Live on Fridays. So let's move on, though. We're going to now cross to Liam Graffiti, who's the temp and contract specialist in our accounting team in the Sydney office. G'day, Liam.
G'day,
Liam,
Mark. How you doing?
Now, you've gone, and now we were speaking right before.
I've done a switcheroo.
We went on live. We were speaking before, and I thought, Liam, like, mate, that is a whole completely Woodstock type shirt you've got there.
Yeah,
And you've gone and
yeah.
mixed it up before we went live.
Well, you didn't like it, Mark, so I was like, you know what, I've got to switch to the fresh white shirt. So
Yeah,
yeah.
you've gone all corporate. You've gone all
Yeah.
accounting, and that's what we want to talk
Yeah,
about. We've
that's
got a
right,
couple of
that's
accounting
right.
jobs, hey? So tell us
Yeah.
about them.
So I've got two really great roles for two very high-profile property companies. So the first role is based out of North Sydney. So it's an accounts receivable role. We're looking for someone to go on a temporary basis, with the possibility of getting into a permanent vacancy. So the reason for the vacancy is we've had a resignation in the company. Fortunately, there will be a handover period, so you'll get a little bit of time to get trained up in the role. So on a day-to-day basis, you'll be doing things like recording and reconciling revenue and receipts, liaising with customers to send statement of accounts, issuing invoices and things like that. So ideally, we're looking for someone with a strong background in accounts receivable, anyone that's got accounts experience as an accounts officer or accounts clerk, that has used like Sun Systems or MYOB, that would be fantastic. Again, property experience would be a great addition. So that's what we're looking for. So the rate is around about the 70 to 75K plus super. As an hourly rate, that works out to be around $35 to $38 an hour plus super. So it's the first role we've got on. We're looking for ideally an immediate start, with possibly a little bit of flexibility when it comes to working from home. So that's something we could definitely look at. And yeah, it gives you that really great opportunity to possibly get into a permanent role with this company and get your foot in the door.
Is there an initial commitment period? So how long is the initial?
We're probably looking at an initial commitment period of at least 2 to 3 months, in a temporary basis, and then obviously based on performance, you could look at even getting a permanent role.
There might be a permanent job, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
fantastic. And so that sounds good. What's the other one?
So the second role is an assistant accountant. So again, immediate start, no surprise there, based out of the CBD. So it's a 12-month temp role, 80 to 85K plus super. So really well above award for this role.
Yeah.
Looking for someone with strong experience with either MRI or Yardi or something equivalent. We're looking for somebody who can come in and manage the accounts for a group of assets that this really large property company manages. So you'd be doing things like managing accruals, prepayments, reconciliations, and any other month-end tasks. So yeah, so that's what we're looking at, with definitely the possibility of having a bit of flexibility, working from home, or doing even a hybrid model where you do a couple of days in the office and a little bit from home. Like I said, we're looking for immediate starts. So if you've got any experience at all with MRI or Yardi, or you've got any property experience, I'd love to hear from you. So please either send your resumes or give me a call, and I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, it's I think Jacob's on it, and he's popped your details on the screen.
Beautiful.
Pop the details on the screen there. That sounds like a great opportunity. I know the company that you're recruiting for, and the pedigree that you'd get on your CV by doing that.
It would look
role.
amazing. Yeah, it'd look fantastic on your resume.
It's a great, for an assistant accountant, good exposure, broad range of experience that you're getting, good solid 12-month position, pays good, and a great company. Sounds like I should apply for it, Liam. That's what I'm doing, isn't it?
Please do, Mark. Yeah, please do.
Excellent. All right. And before I let you go then, how would you describe the market just for temporary accounting right now in Sydney?
Yeah, it's a really quick market. I think it's a great time to be looking for roles. There are so many great opportunities that we've got on at the moment. Candidates are getting snatched up so quickly, so we've got to be so quick to secure that great talent. Such a candidate short market at the moment. So we're just seeing so many great roles coming up. So I think there's got to be
any movement on dollars? Do you think is there?
Yeah, definitely. I think the average job we're getting in terms of the pay rate, we're definitely seeing massive. Like the last role, roles way above award that we would have usually seen before. So it's definitely a quick market. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, always good to talk to you on P2P Live. So thanks again, Liam. Thanks,
Mark.
Even if you did change your Woodstock shirt, mate, that would have been legendary.
I'm so sorry. I'll do it. I'll wear it next time for you, Mark.
Excellent. Rightio. Thanks, Liam. Let's move on.
Mark.
So we're going to move on to our new segment now, and that segment is Fill Job Friday, because we thought that with so many opportunities out there that we need to move quickly. We represent 3 jobs to you that we need to fill quick, smart. Monday start. First one, warehouse assistant. This is being recruited by Peter in our Parramatta office, and it's actually based in Mascot, paying $26 to $30 an hour. What they need here is somebody with experience in pick packing or a similar position, attention to detail, fast-paced, and previously worked in a warehousing or a storage environment. The second role is a customer service coordinator. This is an interesting one. It's based in Hoxton Park in Sydney, and that's also an immediate start. You need to have experience or knowledge in the area of air and sea operations, both import and export. That's highly beneficial, and you've got to have really strong Excel skills for that particular role. Seems at odds with customer service, but you need to have that because of the industry that you're dealing in. And the last one is with Alia from our Sydney team. Now, it's not one specific role. There's multitude of corporate receptionist positions starting next week. If you have corporate reception experience, you need to get in touch with Alia because those roles are between 55 and 60K on a permanent basis, but more in that sort of late 20s, $30 an hour for the temporary reception roles. So quick jobs to fill by Monday. If you're interested, then please, the jobs are all in the comments there. So last thing I'd like to leave you with is the results of the Twitter poll from last week, which is, should you get paid more if you're working? I keep saying more. Should you be paid less if you're working remotely? And the answer is clearly no. 76% said no way. If you're working remotely, you should get the same pay as if you're working in the office. It's very interesting when you see that those large American corporates, particularly those in Manhattan, are not going to pay Manhattan salaries to somebody working in Idaho. Yet the general population says, no, that doesn't work that way. You're paying for my experience. Particularly here in Australia, 76%. 784 votes on Twitter. 76% said no, 23% said yes. Interestingly, in New Zealand, with Frog Recruitment, our sister company there, that result was a full 10 percentage points higher. It was in the 80s for being no. So a little bit more flexibility here in Australia. So the last, what about this week? Now, for somebody who has been working in recruitment for 25 years, every time I see the word resume, I think resume. So it's not will you resume travel, it's will you resume travel for business once borders open? Yes, no, I can meet online or only for extended trips. Let's see what the Twitterverse says next week. We'll have those results next week as well. If you want your say, links in the comments there as well. That's it, everybody. Thanks for joining us once again on a Friday for P2P Live. We'll do it all again next week, and enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you then.